Welcome to my channel where we discuss everything about things, politics, economy, and development in Nigeria and around the world. One of the questions that was asked President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the so-called presidential media chat that was held on Monday, December 23, 2024, was that what is he doing about corruption in Nigeria? I think the way of China's television put it to him was like, are you fighting for corruption? You know, it was like, what are you doing? Do you fight corruption? What's your treatment about corruption in Nigeria? And the president said that, alluded to doing things to reduce corruption. In other words, not really fighting corruption per se, but he said what are the things that causes corruption? That was the area he was interested. And he said that, and he began to mention some of his own policies as act of fighting corruption, those policies and programs. And he claimed that fuel subsidy removal was one of the processes of fighting corruption. Of course, we know that the fuel subsidy regime came with a lot of corruption. One of the reasons that people call for removal of fuel subsidy was that it has become an engine of corruption in Nigeria, which was actually a failure of governance. Because if there is corruption in the subsidy regime, the duty and responsibility of a government is to identify those corrupt people within the system and weed them away, so that Nigerian people can continue to enjoy the benefits of fuel subsidy as it's obtainable all over the world. There is no part of this world, including the United States, that you don't have subsidy for fuel and other energy or other services in the energy sector. So he said that fuel subsidy removal is part of the fighting corruption through fuel subsidy removal. Well, what we had expected him to do is to tell us what they did to those who are into this fuel subsidy, who are corrupt. They cannot claim that EFCC don't know those who are into the marketers, those who are beneficiaries of the corruption in the fuel subsidy. So what did he do to them? Perhaps that would have been a very important question to ask President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What did you do about those who are alleged to have enriched themselves through fuel subsidy? The corrupt oil companies and their sponsors who were collecting billions and trillions of naira as subsidy. Did he do anything to them? We didn't hear anything. But as far as Tinubu was concerned, stopping the fuel subsidy is enough to settle the matter. Those who have still stolen our money through subsidy regime, nobody is asking them question anymore about it. They have gone away with that. So that to him shows that he is fighting corruption. But then he now talk about that. Look at what he has done with the student loan scheme. The student loan fund, saying that part of the things that cause corruption is people having difficulty in training their children. How much was budgeted for the loan fund, for the education fund? How much was budgeted for that loan? How much compared to their other money that they put out aside for other sectors? As I talk to you now, not up to 10% of the Nigerian students have benefited from that program. Several universities in Southeast have never even had any of their candidates enjoy that. Now, if you have such a small, insignificant number of Nigerian students having access to the loan, is that enough for you to say that that is a process of fighting corruption? That, to me, is not an indication of fighting corruption, because those who are benefiting from it are still minimal. The budgetary allocation to it is still very insignificant for it to make any impact. And if you know our country, Nigeria is one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Transparency International Corruption Perception Index is there for everybody to go and check it online to see where Nigeria belongs in corruption. So when you have a monumental corruption as being witnessed in Nigeria, to say that a few percentages of people who are having student loans is enough to stop their parents from being corrupt, it means that we're not serious, and his administration is not serious in fighting corruption. That's the way I look at it. Then he talked about that he increased the salary of workers from 35,000 naira. He said he has increased it to 70,000 naira. He said that is part of the fighting corruption. That's part of the way to fight corruption. He's fighting corruption in Nigeria. But he forgot that the 35,000 naira they were paying under Buhari is even higher than the 70,000 naira that his administration is paying. This is because inflation, food inflation of over 40%, general inflation of over 35% and more has wiped off whatever gain that is to be made from the salary increase or the new minimum wage increase instituted by his regime. If what this salary increase is an indication of a government fighting corruption, then Nigeria is in serious trouble. That, to me, is not a way to fight corruption, because the 70,000 naira of today is not higher than the 35,000 naira of 2 years ago. That's a fact. When Buhari was paying 35,000 naira, the exchange rate of the naira was around 400 naira to the dollar at the I and E window. At the black market, it was about 700 naira to the dollar. Fuel was less than 200 naira. Today, you are paying somebody 70,000 naira. The naira to the dollar is about 1,800 naira, 1,700 naira on the average. That is it on the average. That's what the naira is. You are buying fuel on the average of 1,000 naira, 1,000 naira, 1,200 naira. And if you situate this together and compare it with 2 years ago, how is 70,000 naira going to stop corruption? Because the salary was increased to that level. How is he going to stop the corruption? It shows that the president himself doesn't understand the dynamics of corruption. Corruption is not an issue of how much you have in your pocket. Because you are rich, many of our rich politicians are some of the most corrupt Nigerians. They have fat bank accounts, still they are still collecting. They are still sleazing this country. They are still pocketing trillions and trillions of naira on a daily basis. So corruption is not something you reduce to mere increment in salary, which in this case was no increment anywhere. Corruption should not and cannot be reduced to the level of your salary, because corruption has to do with greed, avarice, primitive accumulation of wealth. Some of our governors, some of our presidents have sleazed this country, and many of them have been rich, rich in quote. When they were governor, they acquired a lot of money. It doesn't stop them when they became ministers. They are not stealing the money. It doesn't stop them when they became presidents. They are not stealing the money. It doesn't stop them when they became senators, that they overlook some of these things. You took courageous senior advocates of Nigeria like Femi Falana and others to call out our former governors who are senators, who are collecting salaries. They are collecting pension as former governors. They are collecting as ministers. Some of them are collecting as senators who are in the Senate. This is all about greed, avarice, the tendency to accumulate. That's what is primitive accumulation of wealth. It has nothing to do with the salary. People are getting it wrong, that if people are paid enough salary. Don't get me wrong. Nigerian workers deserve nothing less than 200,000 naira minimum wage under the present level of inflation. But even at that, it will not stop those who are greed from being corrupt. Okay, but what I want to say is that the president got it wrong in equating corruption to salary. Those who are collecting salary and are corrupt, these are low-level corruption, which is as bad as they come. But the truth is that many billionaire governors, billionaire ministers, and what have you, who became billionaires through government patronage, that had not stopped them from taking advantage of every opportunity to enrich themselves. So the president is getting it wrong that because he has increased salary, that he is fighting corruption. No. What he needs to do is to allow the EFCC, the ICPC, to go after government officials who are found to be corrupt. I would have even preferred if he had mentioned what they have done to the former CBN governor, how they are taking him to court. That would have made more sense as an indication of fighting corruption. That's what I was expecting him to mention, that look, we are recovering government properties. The people are being challenged, are being taken to court. Former governors. That would have made sense, but to situate it at the doorstep of civil servants because their salaries were increased, that you are fighting corruption. I do not believe that that is a good way to fight corruption. I don't think that would do anything good in war against corruption in Nigeria or improve our corruption perception index being conducted by Transparency International. No, but to his credit, the president never campaigned in 2023 that is going to fight corruption with the same kind of noise that Buhari was making. And at the end of the day, when Buhari left office in 2023, his regime has been described as one of the most corrupt in Nigeria's history, which you can go and verify from the website of Transparency International. Go and check it out. Nigeria's Corruption Perception Index ranking from 2015 to 2023. Go and check so that you'll be able to know that Buhari, despite all the noises he was making at every opportunity that he was fighting corruption, corruption festered more under his administration than ever before. I don't know what to think about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's take on fighting corruption in his administration. Whatever is your reaction, let's hear from you at the comment section.